Hi, everybody. It's Stacy from LoveHealth.us, and I got a big question for you today. You ready? If we are all one, are we God? What? I know it sounds crazy, but let's think about it. So, first of all, when I was young, I loved looking up at space and the universe and just wondering about everything. Questions: Are there aliens? If the universe goes on so far we can't even see, what is at the end of it? Is there an end to the universe? What are the stars and the planets? All that stuff. I loved it so much so that I thought I'd go into astronomy or something, but now it's more likely astrology. But I would even wonder things like, so much, and it would not bother me, but interest me so much that I would say to myself, I hope when we die, we get all the answers of the universe. And I do believe that that could happen now. Yeah, absolutely. However, it's almost like thinking, is there a way to have the answers right now? Because some people think there is. If we realize that we're one with the universe and one with everyone and one with God, then we should be omniscient. I thought that to myself when I was little. Like, when I heard the word omniscient, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be omniscient. Does omniscient mean enlightened? I guess I wanted to be enlightened. But is that possible to think of enlightened people like Buddha, and Jesus? That's like pure enlightenment. Is that possible for most people on this planet? Or are so many people on this planet moving in that direction nowadays? Let's hope so. But I study a lot of people and read a lot of people. So there's a list of a few people who think that enlightenment really is oneness and the realization that we are all one. And there's several layers of oneness that people may be thinking about. Like, are we talking about globalization, the spread of disease, and economic interdependence? Like, we have to be friendly with other countries that are producing goods for us because our jobs here in America depend on the products that they make being sold and created, and their economic health depends on employing people to make those products and making money. So we, obviously see how COVID-19 spread across the world and how this spread of disease shows that we are all connected. Then there's another layer, like the butterfly effect. They say, like, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Australia, can it cause a tornado in Kansas or something? And I looked that up, and what that kind of the definition would be was a very small change in initial conditions create a significantly different outcome. So a student said to me once, so Miss Payne, if I take one step, how does that mean I affect the whole planet and the whole universe? I'm like, well, he was kind of regretting he asked that question because I went on, well, how'd you take that step? Oh, energy. You used energy. How'd you get that energy? Food from the farmer who had to buy thousands of dollars of equipment for the fields to grow the crops, the seeds, maybe even fertilizer and things like that. He had to pay employees to help with the harvest. He had to get it shipped to stores. The clerks and the workers have to stock the shelves and check you out. You had to take gas in your car money to even get there. Do you see how, like, I could go on? There are millions of little tiny interconnected things that had to happen for that student to take that one step in my classroom that day. So there's another way of looking at it. Like, are we just one giant body in the universe and we're all this, like, millions of parts that are connected that are important? Like, I need my liver. It's a part of my body. It's part of me. I'm one with, and my liver's part of that oneness, but it's all a smaller part. That's all building the one Stacy. Maybe. Then there's a really deep level. The John Lennon, the Beatles, I am the walrus level. I am he, as you are me, and we are all together. So some people think, for the very deep divers, like, we are literally one. There is one of us. Hope Johnson will say in her videos, it'll blow you away sometimes, when you're talking about your problems and, oh, this person made me mad and upset. She goes, well, remember, first of all, there's only one of you. What? You're like, okay, Hope, whatever you think. And Eckhart Tolle will allude to this too. I meant to look him up a little bit deeper and see if he would talk more deeply about it. But sometimes it's like, that this world is an illusion and it's here to teach us a lesson, but let's not go there. Even though it's an illusory world, but he won't go into it. He goes, it's a little too deep for most people. Let's just go with that, we are connected. So, and we know matter is vibrating at a slower, matter is just a vibration of energy at a slower rate. And there's actually more space, even in a rock, there's more space between cells at a quantum level and between those particles that make up everything, supposedly. And there's probably even parts to the particles that, there's a lot more space in there than we can even imagine. So is it true that energy is all flowing in and around and between itself and each other and us? That's kind of how is that making us one? Many spiritual teachers will say, we are one with God, always have been, always will be, but we just forgot. Like Course in Miracles, like that's our only mistake. And we have to, forgive that mistake. And we have to atone for that. And then we will, be in heaven again. Once we wake up from the dream or the illusion of separateness, we will know we are one with everything, everyone, and God, and we will be awakened or enlightened or awake, waking up. The path to enlightenment, this is the path to enlightenment. You cannot hate or judge another person when you understand oneness, because that means that he or she, whoever's making you upset, is really you too. So that makes self-love super, super important. And I have a bunch of girlfriends and I who are supporting each other with like a group text, and we try to send resources and information to each other all the time, and just say, remind each other to take some time to love ourselves and to care about ourselves. And sometimes, you really do have to put yourself first, because if you're not, you're kind of putting everyone else second too. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't really love anyone. If we are one. If we are one and you don't love me, then you don't love yourself. If we are one, if you don't love your enemy, you don't love yourself. Ooh, ugh. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. So in Course in Miracles, it said, I thought this was a good quote, your brother's errors are not of him any more than yours are of you. Accept his errors as real, and you have attacked yourself. If you would find your way and keep it, see only truth beside you, for you walk together. The Holy Spirit in you forgives all things in you and in your brother. His errors are forgiven with yours. Atonement is no more separate than love. Atonement cannot be separate because it comes from love. And we even talk about the word sin as the origins of the word sin, according to a great book, The Four Agreements. Read that one, because that's a great little starter on this whole enlightenment issue, and really can help you improve your life in 4 easy, simple steps that aren't always easy. But in that, he would say that sin means speaking against yourself. And if you speak against yourself, and we're all one, you're speaking against your brother, your sister, God, everyone. I used to think I could not be enlightened or awake without my brother after reading this Course in Miracles. But I'm like, great, now I got to go out and convert everybody so they all believe the way I believe, so that we can all go together, because it kept saying in Course in Miracles all the time, you can't go without your brother. You can't go to heaven. You can't be saved. You can't be sin-free. You can't be in heaven, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, without taking your brother with you. But now I kind of think that really means that I have to wake myself up. And that affects everybody, because we're one, right? That helps everybody. If I see things differently, if I wake up, and then it helps wake up my brothers and sisters and the whole universe, because we are so connected, right? And anyone that triggers me is just trying to help me wake up, which would help me wake up the whole universe. Really interesting. So if we are one, are we God? Or goddess, as I like to say. Does that mean if I don't love myself and I don't love my neighbor, or like Ralph Smart likes to say, if I don't love the cat down the street, then including my enemies, then I don't love God, because my enemy is one with God too. If I'm one with God, then he's one with God, or she's one with God. Yikes. You're supposed to, they say one thing that will help you understand this is if you or I see Jesus in everyone, and Jesus is all about forgiveness. And every lesson, supposedly in our world, everything that happens to you that makes you upset, makes you angry, makes you mad, everything that's a lesson in your life is really a lesson in forgiveness. Even Jesus died on the cross, being nailed to the cross, is saying, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They don't know that crucifying me is really crucifying themselves. And crucifying me is really crucifying you, God. Because if we're all connected. And then these two sayings, love thy neighbor as thyself and judge not lest ye be judged. I used to think, but now I used to think that meant like, if I judge someone, Karma's going to come back at me and I'm going to get judged. But now I think if we are one, then if I judge someone, I'm really judging myself. And love thy neighbor as thyself. Now I'm kind of flipping that around too. If I don't love if I, it's supposed to be like, oh, I love myself so much, I should love my neighbor just as well as I love myself. Well, I don't know a lot of people that really know how to love themselves that well. A lot of people with a lot of self-hatred. So if I'm hating on me, then I'm really hating on my neighbor. So I have to actually love myself as well as I'm loving my neighbor. Sometimes we love our daughters, our sons, our parents better than we love ourselves. And we treat ourselves very badly in order to help that person or to pull that person. But if we're stressed and frazzled and sick and making ourselves ill, and giving ourselves diseases with all our mental stress and emotional problems, because stress is the number one cause of inflammation and disease in your body, right? Or something like that. Then we're really not helping our brothers and sisters. We're not really loving them, because now we're going to be crippled and disabled, and they're going to take, how's that loving? That's not loving you or yourself or them or you or yourself. But what about Hitler? Hitler, the poster child of evil and Satan. Do we have to love Satan? Do we have to love Hitler? Is he my brother? Do I have to forgive him in order to be considered awake or enlightened? I mean, Jesus would. What would Jesus do? That's kind of, that saying makes a lot of sense to me now. I used to kind of joke about that and think, oh, that's so godly, good for you. Well, now I think differently about that too. Can I see the face of Jesus in Hitler? And Hope Johnson said this once. It really was like, whoa, what? She said, do you think an abuser wants to be an abuser? That person like hates themselves. That person, if someone's really abusive to you, let's think about it. It's because they were abused. We know there's a cycle of abuse here. So the person doesn't want to be an abuser. This is all they know. They have so much pain and suffering inside them that, they put it on to other people, right? Misery loves company. And they don't know, their neural pathways are so embedded in this self-loathing and hatred and feeling like dirt because they've been treated like dirt, that they don't know any better than to treat others like dirt. They're full of anger and hatred and fear. Do I have to accept the fact that I am Hitler? If we are one, there's another one that's like, what? I'm not Hitler. I would never do that. I would be the one saving everybody and trying to get everybody out of this, and I would be fighting back. And yeah. Well, according to this awesome video shared by my student Nolan, thanks Nolan, the egg in a nutshell. I'll put it in the comments or in the description. Not only am I Hitler, but I am Hitler and all of his victims. What? And why would we want to victimize ourselves? Because of self-loathing, because of the guilt and shame of forgetting and not realizing that we're one with God? Is this all happening because we won't love ourselves so completely that we can't inflict pain on others and others cannot inflict pain on us? Because if you really love yourself and you don't feel guilt and shame about the things that you do or say, you can take responsibility for your actions, but feeling guilt and shame and judging yourself because of them is where you're going to get in trouble and where you're going to hate yourself. And you can forgive yourself when you do something that you don't think was the right thing to do. And you can make amends for it. You can atone. But to hate yourself is only hating your brothers and sisters too. So see Jesus in everyone. Is Hitler God? Is Hitler God too? If we're all God, is Hitler God? What crazy, crazy thoughts. But here's some artwork by Hitler before things went terribly wrong. Got rejected from art school twice, couldn't even tell his parents because of shame and guilt before they died. He didn't want them to know or something like that. The story goes, I read it a long time ago, but I was like in shock. You should see some of the art Hitler made. It's like this person wasn't evil at some point. You can't be so evil and self-loathing to create some beautiful artwork like this, can you? I don't know. It's crazy. You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That is how important you are, says Eckhart Tolle. And if we go into that a little bit, is that Eckhart Tolle often says in his videos that sadly, we rarely change until the pain of the situation outweighs the pain of doing something about it. Even if we have cancer, we can't stop smoking. But if it gets so bad that we just can't even breathe and we can't cough, then maybe we'll quit. but the addiction is so bad and the neural pathways are so badly embedded. Since we are all God and God doesn't make mistakes, then everything that happens, even atrocities like war and even evil people, exist as an attempt to wake us up, to expand our consciousness. Everything that happens is like a wake-up call from the universe, like, please snap out of this, realize that everything is love and everything is about love. And until you start loving everyone and everything and yourself, then you are going to be an unhappy, angry person with a lot of problems and fear and upset in your life. And when will it be enough? When we decide it is enough. We're giving ourselves a lot of tough love, but must we learn through pain, or can we learn through silence? I hope we can learn through silence and meditation. Instead, as like when I scream at my class to listen to me, then they get quiet, but now they're kind of shut down and they're not really learning. But when I just stand there and I cross my arms and I just silently wait and stare at them, they stop and they learn through silence that Miss Pain wants your attention, and we can move forward in a much more peaceful way. So I love that. But like we talked, Sean Croxton, one of my heroes. I love you, Sean. Check him out on Quote of the Day show on his website. We talk often in his classes that it's like casting in Hollywood is sending you the same, a different actor all the time with the same lesson until you learn it, until you get it. That's why people marry and divorce the same type of person all the time, because they, even if it's a miserable relationship, they'll get divorced and they'll marry somebody else and they're just as bad or worse, or maybe not as bad, but pretty much the kind of same, maybe abusive relationship or unhealthy relationship. But it's not really that person. It's you. Let's say it was me. I don't like to say you all the time. Like to say I will not change my relationships with different people until I change myself, until I really realize I deserve better, until I really realize that, I need to change myself. I'm going to keep having the same person in my life, the same type of person, the same actors are going to keep coming in and out of my scenes until I wake up. Keep getting a slap in the face. Wake up. Kind of like when someone passes out. First you shake them. You're like, wake up, come on, are you okay? And then they're like, not responding. So you start smacking them a little bit. Oh my God, wake up, are you okay? And then pretty soon they're still not waking up. You're like, oh my God, Highland, you got to do the give them the pump on the chest and give them CPR and give them oxygen. Wake up. And then that doesn't do it. So now you got to get the big guns. You get the paddles out and you give them the jolt and you hope that their heart starts beating again and that they wake up. Like that's what the universe is constantly doing to us, giving us war, giving us evil people, giving us diseases, giving us famine and starvation and fighting and problems between different types of people, because we're so different. We're not different. If we're all one, we're all the same. Then that's going to keep happening to wake us up. So even I thought we need to decide to love ourselves so deeply. I used to watch Stuart Smalley on Saturday Night Live. If you want to look up one of those clips, and he'll stand at the mirror and he'll say, I love myself and I'm a good person and that's why I like myself. Yay. And it's so corny and silly. And I thought how ridiculous that is. Well, Marissa Peer makes millions of dollars a year teaching people I am enough. She says, not only look in the mirror and say it to yourself every day, put a sticker on your mirror that says I am enough, write it in lipstick, put it on your phone as your screensaver, constantly on your car, on your rear view mirror, on your dashboard. I am enough. Constantly telling yourself that you love yourself and that you are enough. Constantly maybe meditating on it. And someone like Christine Hassler really focuses on healing the inner child. She goes, all these deep wounds that we're carrying around of shame and guilt are really keeping us down. And until we learn to heal that inner child, we're really not going to have great, solid, loving relationships. And, she says that we are, she says we won't even invest in ourselves. She's teaching a class on healing your inner child in August. If you want to look her up, she has a great podcast, Over and On with It. And she pushes this healing class, and she says there's scholarships and stuff, but she's like, spend money on yourself, invest in yourself. That's what she loves to do. And so many people that are healing themselves say, we will invest in so many silly things, but we won't invest in ourselves. And part of that is because our ego, is trying to protect itself. It doesn't want to change. There's safety in staying the same. There's a lot of fear in change, and our neural pathways are so set. It's so hard to change. But man, you listen to a couple of Christine Hassler podcasts, you're going to be like, what? have a whole different perspective on the fact that your past is really affecting your here and now. Right? Um, so our ego doesn't really want us to wake up. And it's the same with our world and government. It's not going to change, until we raise our consciousness. If we're all unconscious, or most of us are unconscious, we're going to have an unconscious government. Our government is a reflection of us. Many of us know people that are in government positions. They're friends and family of ours. We love them, but we cast them out as evil as soon as our taxes go up, or as soon as something bad happens, or they're not making the right decisions. We elected them. We put them there. Our government is a reflection of us. If we want our government to improve and be better, we have to improve and be better. We have to be more conscious, and then our government will make conscious decisions on our behalf, right? Eckhart Tolle says our government reflects our current consciousness. So I made this little infographic. It starts with me: self-loathing, self-judgment. I am not enough. If I don't love myself, I really can't love anyone else. And if we are all one, and I'm not loving myself, since we're all one and we are all God or goddess, then if we don't love ourselves, we can't really love God. And that leads us to a low consciousness on the planet, a low vibration of guilt and shame and blame and fear. And we got major problems, and we're living in a self-inflicted hell. Or it starts with me: self-love, self-compassion. I am enough. I am capable of loving you now because I can love myself. I'm not going to judge you because I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to have compassion for you. I can see God in everyone, even my enemy, because he is me. I love and forgive my brothers and sisters as myself, because we are one with each other and God. Therefore, I love God. And of course, God loves all of his creations. They say God loves us. God loves all of us. And if we are God, then how we should love all of us too. Imagine us all loving each other, how that would change the world. And then this would lead to highly conscious people on the planet vibrating at the level of love, compassion, and forgiveness, unity, and peace. We lead ourselves by making every decision as conscious, enlightened beings. There is abundant love, health, wealth, peace, and joy for all. Self-proclaimed heaven on earth. So people really think you can experience heaven on earth if you can experience heaven within. It will spread without. And like Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite quotes: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. If you start looking at everyone with lovingness and forgiveness and as one, then you will start seeing the world as heaven. Heaven will be to you on earth now. Heaven is here now, they say. Eckhart Tolle says, live in the now and you will experience heaven on earth, because you won't be fearing and worrying and judging the past and fearing the future. Right? So here's a few quotes that I thought were great. Every lesson is a lesson in forgiveness, which means, this really helps us in the view of forgiving each other. If we realize oneness means that every attack is a self-attack. That means every time I attack you, I'm really attacking myself. Every time you attack me, you're really attacking yourself. If I feel judged and pain from your attack, then that means I'm now judging myself too, and you're just reflecting to me my own feelings of guilt and shame. If you're saying something to me that doesn't hurt my feelings or give me any feelings of guilt and shame, that means I really don't believe that about myself, and I'm showing myself some good compassion, forgiveness, and self-love. Find peace within yourself, and then the world will follow. Embarrassing story. I wish I had my yearbook picture. I don't, but I'll get it for you sometime, because it's besides the great 80s hair and a lot of Aquanet, there's a quote: find peace within yourself and then the world will follow. At the time, I loved the quote. It just really resonated with me, so I used it, but I put CS as the author because I didn't want to admit it was Colton Shore from General Hospital, my favorite soap opera at the time. I was a little embarrassed about that, because it wasn't like Mark Twain or Robert Frost or something deeper than this, right? So I now look at it like, whoa, that was my quote. I knew back then that if you find peace within, the world will follow. But here I am a few years later, a couple of years later, and I still I didn't really get it. And I'm still working on it. Still haven't quite embraced it for myself. And I mean, like, my girlfriends and I are trying to figure it out together and help each other out, right? All you need is love, and love is all you need. So if we come from a place of love all the time, as much as possible, being conscious of that and being aware of that, the awareness, of course, of, am I judging? Am I loving? Am I forgiving? Am I having compassion, not just for others, but for myself, right? Hope Johnson will say, every time you do something that you consider wrong, even if you're having road rage in the car and you're like, you're a jerk, you cut me off, I hate you. And then you calm down. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. That's what she says to do. Just always do that. Always forgive yourself. And then you'll be able to forgive others, because you are forgiving others when you forgive yourself, if we are all one. War is over if you want it. Whoa, John and Yoko, that's a good one. Meaning, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be peace on earth until we all want it consciously. Or at least I do. And then my consciousness affects everyone in the world, right? And I don't feel like the world is at war when I'm at that higher consciousness. This is great. Funkadelic. Free your mind and your arse will follow. The kingdom of heaven is within. Sorry, it's a family show. So I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but free your mind and everything will follow, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, not out here. It's in you to find the peace within, to find heaven within you. It's not up there. It's not over there. It's not with the cat down the road. Love you, Ralph Smart. It is in your heart and in here. The Eagles. I mean, this is a crazy thing. When you listen to music and you have these kind of awareness of enlightenment and consciousness, and you listen to music, you're like, oh my gosh, no wonder these people are rich and famous and abundant in their life. They have this in their lyrics of their songs. They already knew this. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never even know we have the key to unlock ourselves. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley redemption song. These lines, I looked it up. These lines were taken from a speech given by Marcus Garvey in St. Philip's African Orthodox Church in Sydney, Nova Scotia during October 1937. We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because whilst others might free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is your only ruler, sovereign. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of the other man who uses his mind. Thought that was pretty cool. Thought that was pretty darn cool. So that's it, peeps. It is about self-love all the way, forgiveness, compassion. It's got to be there. It will help the whole planet. It'll help you. It'll help you in your relationships. Just think about that. When you're pointing the finger at someone, three are pointing back at you. And when someone's attacking you and pointing the finger at you, think, oh, well, you're pointing the finger at me, but three are pointing back at you. And say, I forgive you. And take responsibility for your actions, but forgive yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge others. Try not to be judgy, but be aware of being judgy. That's at least that's what I'm going to do. Try not to use you so much. You got to use the I, right, when we talk. All right. I would love for you to like and subscribe by clicking the little subscribe button below and give me a little thumbs up. And if you need some Stacey Love, you can email me at stacylovehealth@gmail.com. Love you, mean it, everybody. Live it up. See you soon.